Welcome, everyone. My name is Peter Linkletter, and it's my great honor to serve as chair of St. Mary's Home Board of Directors. And it's also my pleasure to welcome you to the 2021 Annual General Meeting. This is an important opportunity to gather, to reflect on the past year, and to carry out transactions pursuant to our Constitution and bylaws. Je m'appelle Peter Linkletter et j'ai l'honneur de présider le conseil d'administration du Maison Sainte-Marie. Et c'est avec plaisir que je vous souhaite la bienvenue à l'Assemblée générale annuelle 2021. Il s'agit d'une occasion importante de se réunir pour réfléchir sur l'année écoulée et pour effectuer des transactions conformément à notre Constitution et nos règlements. And before we get started, maybe just a few technical considerations. I was so pleased that that as part of the registration to get onto the Zoom meeting, you would have already sort of entered in your name, so we'll be able to keep track of names and participants. We do have quite a few folks on hand, so maybe what we'll do, just in terms of if you do have questions, which you're free to either pose in the chat function or to at a question and answer time, please just identify yourself, and that would be helpful rather than trying to necessarily navigate a round table, because the table always moves virtually. So maybe we'll do it that way, and then we can, of course, document the participation in our minutes. I will mention that we do record these proceedings, and that just helps with a number of reasons, including for posterity, being able to reflect and review on these proceedings for those who couldn't make it or those who are interested in knowing about our work later on. A quorum is a majority of directors present. We have 10 members in good standing, so therefore 6 members constitutes quorum. And I can report that we have more than 6 members present. So quorum is met, so that's wonderful and essential, actually. And so with that, it's my pleasure to call the AGM to order. And I'm going to start before getting into the agenda with a very important acknowledgement of the land upon which we are situated. Thank you to each of you for joining from where you are, and I'd like to honor each of your respective traditional territories as we come together, possibly from across the region or maybe across the country. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I and most of us are situated is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. The Algonquin peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial. As far back as 9,000 years ago, Indigenous people have inhabited this region. Nomadic peoples lingered here to portage, to exchange goods, taking advantage of the confluence of the wonderful rivers. And archaeological evidence shows actually that the region has been a lively trade hub for some 6,000 years. And indeed, Chaudière Falls, which is Akiquajiwan, was actually a place of ceremony, as witnessed very early on by Samuel de Champlain in the 1600s. And I also note, I'm an avid runner, so I have the pleasure of spending wonderful time on the paths along the waterways in the region to explore the wonderful landscape that the Creator has provided us. So I just wanted to share that and just to reflect that we're grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory. To move on to review the agenda, and again, it's great we've got it up there for you to see. We'll be reviewing our minutes. We'll be presenting our audited statements, and of course, it's wonderful to have our auditor here, and we'll get to that. We have our executive director report, a president's report. We'll be doing some necessary thanking for outgoing board members who are also outgoing. We'll go over a nominating committee report, some long service awards. We have a very special guest presentation, which is well worth the wait. If all of that wasn't exciting enough for you, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers before adjourning, and then reconstituting as the board for a separate board meeting. So with that as an overview, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Peter, I'll move.
Thank you. And a seconder? That was Chris?
Yes.
A seconder?
Yeah.
That sounded like Phil. Wonderful. All in favor?
All in favor.
And here, let me get us in gallery so I can see everybody.
Yeah.
Swap video, side by side speaker gallery. No, I still can't see us all. So we're gonna have to be on our best behavior that we're gonna be support. So I'll say any opposed. Failing that, then the motion has passed. Thank you very much. Of course, this is one of the novelties of navigating things virtually. Maybe then let's take a look at the minutes of the annual general meeting from 2020, which took place on November 28th. The minutes were sent out to all the members by email in advance of the meeting, and some of you may have seen them earlier, in fact. And I was just curious, are there any questions, comments, or corrections? Sorry, November 24th. Sorry, my error. Any comments or questions?
I thought they looked fine, Peter.
Wonderful, thank you. So then may I have a motion to approve the 2020 AGM minutes?
I'll approve of that, Peter.
Wonderful, thank you. And a seconder?
I can second, Don.
Thank you. Wonderful. All in favor? And more importantly, any opposed? Great. So the motion has passed. Thank you very much. That's obviously important business for us. We have completed our financial year, which ended March 31st, 2021. And I'm going to ask Nicolas, who is our treasurer, to introduce the item and also to introduce our auditor from the firm of Baker Tilly.
Right. Thanks, Peter. So we're here with Jordan Malone, partner at Baker Tilly, who will present the financial statements. We at the Finance and Audit Committee, we did review the statements and we did approve them. But it's always nice to have a Jordan here to present them as well. So if you have any questions, ask them. Thank you. Jordan.
Thank you, Nicholas. So I'm here to present your financial statements today for the year ended March 31st, 2021. I do cover the statements at a high level, but I am available if you have any questions. So starting on the first page after the index. So this is our audit report that we attach to your financial statements. The audit went very well. Just to highlight, you'll see here, it says a qualified opinion. All that means, it's very common for charities. It just means that regarding donations, we audit the donations, we verify the donations you receive, and we don't take anything else into consideration for the donations. Everything else is audited as expected. So we'll move to page 3 of the financial statements. So this is your financial position. It's a snapshot of your organization on one date, March 31st. You'll see a few variances. Just to highlight, cash increased by a fair bit, by about 500,000. A big portion of this is transfer from your savings account. You can see your savings account decreased by about 200. And also your accounts receivable went from 138 to 24. A big portion of this last year was you had a holdback for one of your grants of about 70,000, which is not applicable this year. Focusing on your liabilities, your accounts payable and accrued liabilities increased by a fair bit. This is just due to the timing of payments around March 31st, 2021. And that's all. I'll highlight the net assets on the next page. So this is your statement of changes in net assets. It shows your accumulation of surpluses over time. The invested in capital asset section that has a balance of 342,000. Capital assets are an expense. They're an asset when you buy them. So that 342 represents the unamortized remaining amount of capital assets. You can see that you have an unrestricted surplus of 315,000 plus your campaign fund, which is internally restricted. Those two surpluses, buildup of surpluses, represent about 3 months of your operating expenses. And it's completely normal for a not-for-profit to have surpluses and accumulated surpluses up to about 3 to 6 months of your operating expenses. So moving to page 5. This is your statement of operations for the fiscal year. The main increase for revenue is the grants from the City of Ottawa. Just over 200,000 was one-time funding related to COVID, so which increased your revenue. And for the most part, your expenses are in line with last year. You can see that you have a 0 for rent from partners. Just due to reallocation of your accounts, that amount is represented under the utilities line at the bottom. So when you factor those two together, they are still fairly comparable to last year. So you did have a $94,000 surplus in 2021. Moving to page 6 of the financial statement. This is your statement of cash flows, it's a reconciliation of your bank account. So although you only had you still had a $94,000 surplus, your cash increased by $580,000. And again, a big portion of that is your transfer your savings account, your decrease of your accounts receivable, and also a factor in that is increasing your accounts payable. So you have some expenses you haven't yet paid for, which are still sitting in your cash. The next page, page 7, represents your accounting policies. And the only policy added this year, just to highlight, is on page 9. Most of your policies are fairly standard. There's nothing unusual to note. You have government assistance as a policy, and this just reflects that when you receive government assistance, it can be subject to its own audit. And although we're comfortable with the amounts reflected in your statements, there is a chance that an amount could be paid in the future, repaid. The rest of your financial statements represents your more detail for your statement of financial position and your statement of operations. I just wanted to highlight note 3 on the next page, page 11. This just represents, you can see before you have a big increase in your deferred grants. This shows the change. One of the change was your Ontario Works grant, which is just the timing of when you receive the grant to when you spend it. There's a bit of overlap with the March 31st at year end. And on page 12 of the financial statements, note 8, just to highlight the fact that there's still a lot of uncertainty due to COVID, and there could be continued impact to your organization, but that impact is not known. So this is a fairly generic worded note, but it's just to highlight that risk. Are there any questions for the financial statements?
Thank you very much, Jordan. Any questions from the table? I can certainly mention it was certainly been a pleasure sort of working through as I said on the finance committee with the engagement of any of those remaining precision steps that are necessary and when we're doing these things. So that was good to see that. But I'm just curious, anybody any comments or questions of precision or understanding on the statements?
Peter, I don't have any questions. I just wanted, first of all, I keep turning my camera on and off because I'm out of town, working out of a hotel room. So the internet is a bit spotty. So if my camera's off, that's why. I just wanted to comment on the work that Baker Tilly has done. As those of us that have been on the board for a while, we've had a few different firms, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with the folks from Baker Tilly. I'm sure our staff would echo that statement as well.
Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Chris. And indeed, that's a really important relationship, and so we certainly treasure it. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add, and also the last 2 audits have been fully remote, which would have normally been a huge challenge, but yeah, your team has been incredible, the team at Baker Tilly, and you too, Jordan. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's been great working with your staff as well.
Wonderful. And again, a big thanks to Nicolas for as treasurer, presiding over over not only this particular relationship and engagement, but more broadly. So that's again great to see. And again, for those of us who have been on nonprofit or charitable boards, to see such a positive financial situation like that is heartening and comforting. And I understand, from the perspective of St. Mary's, that hasn't always been the case. And of course, organizations go through necessary periods of transition. So with that, then, thank you so much. I hope that was helpful to those present. And of course, these will be available on the website at some point soon. So in terms of the business end of things, may I have a motion to approve the 2020-2021 audit, or the audited financial statements?
Yes.
Oh, and that was?
That was me, Philippe.
Oh, bonjour, merci. A seconder?
I'll second it, Peter.
Wonderful, thank you so much. All in favor? And then in a virtual setting, maybe more important, any opposed? Wonderful. So we'll consider that motion passed. That's wonderful. And then, of course, another important procedural step as well is to consider the appointment or the reappointment of Baker Tilly on the recommendation of the Finance Committee. So I'd like to present a motion to reappoint Baker Tilly as our auditing firm for the next year, 2021-2022. So may I have a motion to approve Baker Tilly as the auditor?
Fernando.
Oh, Fernando, hello. Yes, thank you. A seconder.
I can second.
Thank you so much, Nicola. All in favor? And more importantly, with an audible, any opposed? Wonderful, thank you. The motion has passed. So thank you very much, Nicola and Jordan and your firm. And we're certainly looking forward to continuing our engagement, and we're hopeful that we won't be having to have a virtual presentation of your audited financial statements next year. But of course, none of us individually get to control that, but looking forward to that nonetheless. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, then with that, and it's great to see Fernando has joined. I haven't been keeping track of, again, I have four boxes on the side that I can see, unless I can't see the agenda, but I might be able to change that. Let's say beside speaker. Anyway, we'll keep tabs on who's here. So with that, then, why don't we turn to our exceptional executive director, Kathleen Cummings, to give us her perspective on the year and certainly some of the highlights.
Thank you. So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending this meeting. I'd like to start by saying thank you so much to everybody that participated in creating our report, our AGM report, which will be on our website shortly, and along with the audit, and also be sent to all of our funders for those of you attending. I'm not going to give as much of a highlight of things because people from each kind of program and service of our agency has done that in the full report. So I'm just going to focus on giving some thank yous. And the first one is to everybody that wrote the report. And also I wanted to thank Ali for pulling it all together. It was a tremendous feat, and for ensuring everything's up in the right order this evening, because it probably wouldn't have happened with me. I'm not IT inclined. So anyway, thank you, Ali. Big missy. So as I'm sure it's been the case with everybody around the world, it's been a pretty exceptional, extraordinary year again. And our St. Mary's Home and our community has continued to be incredibly impacted by this pandemic. I'd like to say, though, despite the many challenges that have been presented, our staff team, stretched as they have been, continue to exhibit resilience and creativity while safely and quickly responding to needs identified by participants of our Young Parents Outreach Centre and residents of our specialised shelter. On behalf of St. Mary's Home, our board and myself, I'd like to thank our incredible team, each and every one of you, for dealing with what had seemed seemingly insurmountable issues in a manner that I have to say has been quite remarkable. Thank you. Thank you also to our board of directors. It's not been an easy time to provide governance for an agency in a time with so many risks. And you continue to do this despite being incredibly busy, each of you in your own lives, and dealing with your own challenges that this pandemic has presented. We're very grateful to you. Thank you so much. Thank you also to all our frontline and behind the scenes wonderful volunteers and amazing community partners. We so greatly appreciate all of you and all the support that you provide to St. Mary's Home and young families in our community. We've greatly missed seeing many of you on site and look forward to more returning soon. Thank you to our funders and many donors for your generosity and support and for digging so deeply during such an uncertain time. Please know you've made a real difference. Because of you, St. Mary's Home was able to meet significant challenges and provide essential supports, which we would not have been able to do otherwise. The pandemic has intensified experiences of isolation, increased food and housing insecurity, and the need for additional mental health supports for pregnant and parenting youth and young families who were already experiencing significant challenges prior to this pandemic. As always, I'm in complete awe of the determination and resilience pregnant and parenting youth participating with St. Mary's Home exhibit. Your courage, tenacity, and inner strength are an inspiration to all of us. This has been a really challenging year. We could never have expected prior to the pandemic how much it would require us to change our way of doing things. However, it's important to remember it has not changed our purpose, and in fact, it has only further reinforced it. Despite the need to adhere to strict requirements to ensure health and safety for all, the pandemic has not stopped us from providing essential programs and services and remaining flexible and responsive. Our collective response demonstrates what makes St. Mary's Home so special, all the people who make up our SMH community. In ending, I would like to pay tribute to all of the, sorry, I'm going to get emotional, to all of those who we've lost this year. They may be gone, but they'll never be forgotten. And will continue to inspire us and move us forward. St. Mary's Home recognizes members of our team for reaching 5-year increments of working with our agency. Since our last AGM, Kim Whistle, where is she? I hope you're still on here, Kim. She's working tonight at the residence. So anyway, I hope you're still on here. Kim has reached the milestone of completing 10 years working with St. Mary's Home. On behalf of our team, Kim, I would like to sincerely thank you for your ongoing commitment and dedication. You really put your heart into what you do, and it's a privilege to work with you. And we will have this certificate in a nice frame for you tomorrow. I also had the privilege of working for 5 years, completing 5 years of working with St. Mary's Home this last spring, and I'm thankful for this wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Kimberly, certainly for your service, and Kathleen for your service. I'm convinced by my calculation that you've put 14 and a half years of service into those 5 years, and again, just what a wonderful leadership that you provide, that you have provided, that you continue to provide, and to have such a great team around you, particularly during just this absolutely unprecedented and sustained challenge that we faced. Indeed, when I was looking through Chris's comments from last year's AGM, there was something to the effect of, as we go through the pandemic, etc., we hope it's going to be over soon, and we hope it is. But so thank you so much. That was a wonderful report, and certainly again a testament to just some absolutely wonderful efforts and partners. and again, an opportunity to highlight the success and the contributions. So maybe what I'll do then is, and so similarly in the annual report, there will be a presence report. So what I'll do is I'll run through it and just to give you a sense of how that's shaping up. As we celebrate our 2021 annual general meeting, we recognize that the global COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect every one of us. While vaccines are now available with impressive rates of vaccination in the community, the pandemic continues to create stress and anxiety, especially for those who are the most vulnerable. This stress and anxiety can be a growing burden, and we are mindful of the need to access services and programs to reduce stress, depression, and anxiety. We also continue to closely monitor the situation here in Ottawa, the surrounding region, and we're grateful to all levels of public health for the direction and leadership that they have provided to inform our activities and our services. When you get a chance to read the entire 2020-2021 annual report, you're going to learn more about the passionate team of volunteers, staff, partners, donors, and supporters who share a common goal to build on the strengths of young pregnant women and parents and their children. You'll also learn of the tremendous efforts that have been taken to pivot and to fill gaps in service that have been created by the pandemic and that continue because of it. The pandemic has forced us to focus our energy on the immediate more than on the horizon. And this was one of the things that informed our decision to delay the renewal of our strategic plan. The board decided, in fact, in June of this year to extend the current strategy for one additional year to allow some time for breathing, focus on operations. And I'm so excited at the opportunity that awaits us for the community to get involved in the development of a new strategic plan as we enter the new year. And I'm so fortunate to chair a board of directors with volunteer directors who are so dedicated and so giving of their time and energy. And I thank you all for your ongoing support and caring for those we serve in our community. Looking forward to 2020-22, let's continue to support each other, and most importantly, to ensure that those who are finding out that they are pregnant and are not alone and are able to focus on the hope and promise for the future. So again, that will be, and I think I just noted some typos as I was reading it, and we'll get those fixed. But again, a huge thank you, board members, staff, partners, again, an unprecedented time to get through, for St. Mary's, let alone each of us in our individual lives, just so many challenges, and that it is quite astounding. So I am hopeful that the year ahead will be more like the before times, which almost sounds like a prehistoric statement, but we're going to get there. And thank you all so much. So maybe I'll take an opportunity now to thank some outgoing board members who are also outgoing, Chris Hughes and Don Robb, and then I'll ask Kathleen to annotate and maybe refute some of the things I say, but I hope not. I have to say it is absolutely heartening to consider the tremendous impact that Chris and Don have made over their tenure on the board of directors. Both have been absolutely wonderful ambassadors for the organization and have brought great leadership and discipline through some significant changes in the organization, which is so heartening. Chris has brought a focus on innovation, on being a strong partner in the community, of course, drawing on his sustained leadership of organizations on boards like Christie Lake Kids, Youth Services Bureau, and that has certainly been felt in the gravitas he's been able to bring, leading us among partners. This also includes engagement on how best to develop and animate our real estate assets, how to work with partners more broadly. Chris, of course, also shepherded a lot of modernization, including our information management, information technology capabilities, which is yielding a lot of wonderful benefits. And of course, Chris was absolutely most supportive and welcoming during the pandemic, and always seemed to know what to say in any given moment, including, I should add, the deployment of his unique and I'll say effective sense of humor. And then, so that's Chris. Now, in terms of Don, you brought such an absolutely wonderful balance of detail orientation with strategic vision in your role as chair of the accreditation committee, as a member of the finance committee. Indeed, for me, it's been a lesson that you can't get out of a book in terms of your engagement and just the passion that you've brought to this organization, in particular, the finance committee and the accreditation committee. Indeed, just this week, Don's making sure that we remain on top of our policy considerations and reviews as part of the accreditation committee. And of course, through Don's leadership roles at Mead Johnson, he was a catalyst for strong and supportive relationships to ensure the nutritional needs of our newborns and babies, and so that's is certainly instrumental and so thoughtful and has made such a big impact. So I'm going to do my best to keep in their good graces for any advice and mentorship in the future that I might be able to yield back to the organization. So with that, again, just a huge thanks, just what wonderful contributions, and certainly I know gives some inspiration to the other members of the board and for individuals who would be thinking of joining the board now and in the future to have seen that wonderful leadership. I don't know, Kathleen, have you got any thoughts to share?
Yeah, both of these incredible volunteers, I need to add that, which the greatest gift you can give is your time. They went through a number of really intense processes with us as an agency. So changing our IT, changing the way we do our finances, risk assessment, which all of our agencies went through, but they're funded by MCCSS. A number of years ago, the first time that it was online, which was a very intense process, compliance review from the federal government, which is like an audit on steroids, but, you know, and also through accreditation. And so some, you know, the accreditation we chose to do, the others are requirements of funders, which, you know, but both of them were instrumental in I feel, supporting me and our agency in getting through those processes in a healthy, detailed, accountable, transparent manner. And it was a real pleasure to work with you both on those things. You'll be really missed. I'm hoping that you both decide that you want to stay on committees, because the history, the experience that you have is going to be an intense loss for our agency. Yeah, so if you want to stay on committees, sorry, you can't blame me for doing a plug there, but if
No,
please let us know.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And I don't know.
A lot of board work. Oh, and a strategic plan. There was a lot of work for our board, and some, you know, there was a lot of things in the 5 years I've been with the agency that they really helped spearhead us moving through in a great way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And I don't know, Chris or Dawn, if you wanted to share some words of wisdom, which is the only thing you could possibly share because your words are so wise.
Don, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, Peter and Kathleen, thank you very much for the nice words. Yes, it's been 6 years have flown by. I mean, if I reflect back with the partnership Mead Johnson struck with the St. Mary's a number of years back, I have to admit and acknowledge that Chris was a strong influence in me joining the board, and certainly for someone who was joining the board for the first time, it was a good sounding board from my standpoint. So, you know, I thank you very much, Chris, from that standpoint. Kathleen, I think Peter acknowledged, I mean, it's a pleasure working with you. We just need you to reduce those 14 years down to a more reasonable 5 years in 5 years time. So no, it's been excellent. I've quite enjoyed it. I think we've made some great progress over the last number of years. And I have to admit, with Peter and the current board members on board for the foreseeable future, I think St. Mary's is in good hands. So thank you very much for those kind words.
Thanks
Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don. I put my glasses on so I sound a little bit more intelligent.
It's not working.
You know, one of the things I met Don when he was with me, Johnson, and interestingly enough, it was not only a pleasure meeting with Don, but it was after meeting him that I realized he would be an excellent member of our board, and invited Don to join, and I was very pleased that he did so. I've seen a lot of changes in the organization since I've been here. What's nice to see is we're financially in a very positive position. Certainly, and Don can appreciate this as well. For my first few years here, we went into each year looking at a negative viewpoint of our financials. And we had a fundraising committee that was at best effective at bringing in whatever the deficit looked like it was going to be. But we did everything we could to ensure that it had little, if any, impact on the service that we provided to the young women and families within the organization. I guess the other thing that I wanted to point out, and that is that we also saw changes in staff, including the incoming or the outgoing of an executive director who had been with the organization for many years, well over 15 years, and Kathleen coming on board and unfortunately inheriting a lot of the deficit and financial situation that we were in. But with Kathleen's get-to-itness, as well as working very well with diligent staff and of course our finance committee, she managed to put in place those processes and procedures that we needed to do to control our expenses and getting ourselves to the position that we now enjoy. So I just want to congratulate Kathleen, the finance committee, all the other board members that continue to support the organization, and certainly Kathleen, you and your staff, they just continue to do tremendous work for the young women and families in our community. And that's part of the reason why St. Mary's Home is such an important part of this community. And we know that it's a very broad community that we serve, but the cohort that we work with is at times a very challenging cohort. And it doesn't help when we're in a situation where our finances aren't great. We have a pandemic in the background, and we have staff changes and a number of other things taking place. And you and your team have managed all of this very well through it. As I leave the organization, one of the things I would like you to do, Kathleen, is please pass on my best to every one of the staff there. They've meant the world to me, as I know they've meant the world to all of the clients that have come through our doors. Even those clients that may not recognize it at the time, perhaps 5-10 years from now, they'll look back and say, these were good people and did the right thing by me. So Kathleen, if you could do that, I really would appreciate it. But thank you to all the board members who've supported me as well through the years. And I look forward to seeing St. Mary's Home continue to prosper. Thanks very much for all of your work. Good luck, Peter.
Thank you so much, Chris and Don. That's just absolutely wonderful. And I'm just going through the assortment of reaction buttons here, including this one, of course, which I believe is the best fitting testament in terms of an eye full of tears. So very much thank you to both of you. And again, we look forward to to ensuring that we maintain that level of leadership and discipline on the board for sure through the work of the nominating committee, which maybe is is wonderful timing and transition to give the nominating committee report as part of the agenda. It's my absolute pleasure on behalf of the nominating committee to table the nomination of two new board members, Cheryl Fillion and Dawn Wilson. Both Cheryl and Dawn responded so positively to the call, our most recent call for board members. It's just an absolute pleasure already to have learned of their experience, insights, and passion, and I'm so pleased with what they'll be able to bring to the board. And again, whether we have an opportunity at the board meeting immediately following, depending on availability, but certainly going forward, of getting to know them better. However, procedurally, what stands in the way of that is motion number 5. May I have a motion to approve the nomination of Cheryl Fillion and Dawn Wilson as new board members?
Yes, Philippe.
Merci, Philippe. Seconder.
I will second.
Wonderful. Thank you, Abby. And something that I just noticed as I was looking at the reactions is there's voting buttons here. So I won't get us all to pivot on that, but look at that. You can just do a yes. Wow. So that said, all in favor? And then more importantly, with an audible, any opposed? Wonderful. Well, thank you. Then that motion has passed. Thank you very much. And this is very exciting to have a 2 for 2 in terms of departures and arrivals. So that's just wonderful. And I do note that with that, and the next item up is the slate of board members and executive. That would bring us to 10. So we were at 10. We would be prospectively at 10 with the slate, and we do have in our bylaws an ability for a board of up to 12. So again, there's still some opportunity to consider new additions. So what I'd like to do now is present the slate of board members and executive proposed for the 2021-2022 year. So president would be myself, vice president Leslie Ray Ferrat, treasurer Nicolas Letellier Chabot, secretary Abigail McKinnon, then Philippe Guiton, Lois Mathieu, Fernando Santos, Jim McIntyre, Cheryl Fillion, and Dawn Wilson. Would be standing as the slate, and with that, may I have a motion to approve the slate of board members and executives for 21-22?
Yes, Philippe.
I'll move that.
And a seconder?
Hi, Peter. It's Leslie. I'll jump in and second just so I'm here.
Wonderful, thank you, and it's great to see you. Then all in favor? And more importantly, by an audible, please, any opposed? Wonderful. Well, the motion has passed. Thank you, and thank you so much to all of you who continue to contribute. And then, of course, before we get too far off of the item of thanking Chris and Dawn, just wonderful examples of leadership for us to follow. And so that brings us to a very special guest presentation. And now, Kathleen, I don't know if I've been doing justice to the schedule. Looks like we're a little ahead. So if I don't know if we need to do a sounding to get our guests on board, but I'll turn things over to Kathleen to introduce. Kathleen was very excited at this particular opportunity for our AGM at a very important time. So I'll turn things over to you, Kathleen.
Yeah, so we have been privileged to have a past participant of our agency come back and record. She's on tour right now, so she's recorded a message to share with us, and then a song that her and her husband are performing. I just need to ask that we stop the recording temporarily because they only wanted this to be present at the AGM.
Absolutely. Well, wow, that's super heartening, and particularly as a washed up rock and roll musician myself, it's amazing to see just that success of which must be amazing, and the journey that Chelsea's been through again is heartening. So wonderful, and I hope all of those present here today have been able to really to see the impact that St. Mary's makes, and that just even more fuels that commitment. So wonderful, thank you. So then with that, and again, that's just wow, just wonderful. I'm curious, are there any questions, just anything before? So what we're going to do procedurally is we'll adjourn the annual general meeting. I'll of course thank absolutely everybody for joining us today. Certainly looking forward to working with and for you and the organization in the coming year. It's wonderful to have been able to again to do some important procedural steps and also do some important celebrating, which I'm so glad we had an opportunity to do. And again, to Kathleen, the staff, clients, partners, some here with us today. And of course, to Chris and Dawn, a huge thanks as you transition into no doubt other ways and additional ways to make an impact. So what I would propose, and maybe we'll just do a quick window for any questions or comments before we sign off on the AGM. But above all else, a big thank you. Then what I propose we do is we take a 5-minute break, maybe a 5-minute health break, and then we'll reconstitute as the board of directors and get through some important governance items there. And I should also mention a big welcome to the board to Cheryl Fillion and Don Wilson. That's just again wonderful to now be able to work with you and benefit from your expertise, your passion, and your expertise. So, but with that, before we wrap things up, any questions, any comments? And again, I see some wonderful comments coming in. Thanks coming in the chat. So that's just wonderful to see. And we'll certainly, so thank you, Blanca, sorry, and Anna, Kelly, just wonderful to see these comments coming through. Is just wonderful. Chris.
Yeah, Peter, I just wanted to say, since I'll be leaving and won't be joining the board meeting, I wanted to welcome Dawn and Cheryl to the board. You've got wonderful group to be working with, and I'm sure your contributions will just be absolutely marvelous. And if you were able to see the video that we just witnessed, it's just an excellent demonstration of the resilience that exists in the clients that walk through our door, and certainly the spirit that rests in their souls. So it's just a wonderful tribute to the organization, and I wish you all the best as I move off. But good luck to everybody on the board, and thanks for the great and wonderful time that I've had. Kathleen, best of luck with everything, and Peter, you the same. You know how to reach me if you feel the need to.
Wonderful, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments, questions? N'importe quoi? Wonderful. Well, then with that, again, thank you so much. And again, I see some comments coming in. Great, Dawn. Thank you, Kelly. Wonderful. So with that, then I will adjourn. Let's adjourn the annual general meeting.